Thank you for joining us at CGLCC's 2021 Digital LGBT+ Global Business Summit, New World. My name is Lisa Ross, Supplier Diversity Manager with Magna International and a proud sponsor of the summit and of this next session. Magna is more than one of the world's largest suppliers in the automotive space. We are a mobility technology company with a global entrepreneurial-minded team of over 158,000 employees and an organizational structure designed to innovate like a startup. With 60+ years of expertise and a systems approach to design, engineering, and manufacturing that touches nearly every aspect of the vehicle, we are positioned to support advancing mobility in a transforming industry. Our global network includes 347 manufacturing operations and 84 product development, engineering, and sales centers spanning 28 countries. Magna believes that diversity helps to promote a wider range of perspective, driving more solutions and greater success for our entire organization. We celebrate diversity and the potential and value it brings. We see a future where everyone can live and move without limitations. That's why we are developing technologies, systems, and concepts that make vehicles safer and cleaner, while serving our communities, the planet, and above all, people. Forward for all. I would now like to introduce a panel discussion on the future of work moderated by Lance Chung, Editor-in-Chief at Bay Street Bull.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Lance Chung. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Bay Street Bull, and welcome to the Future of Work from Survive to Thrive, sponsored by Magna, where we'll be discussing how businesses are responding and continue to respond to innovation at work, from artificial intelligence to remote working to virtual assistants and more. We've got a jam-packed session today and a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so let's dive into it. Panelists, welcome. I'm so glad to be chatting with you all today. Maybe we can start with having you all introduce yourselves briefly. Margaret, we can start with you.
Thanks, Lance. Sorry, forgot to turn my mic on. I'm Margaret. I am the COO of Virtual Gurus, an Indigenous LGBT female-led startup in Calgary, Alberta. We connect companies with virtual assistants, and our aim is to provide employment opportunities for underrepresented and marginalized folks. So I'm happy to be here today to talk about this.
Thanks for joining us. Michaela?
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela Toscano. I'm the founder and principal of Ionica, a tech company based in Vancouver, BC. Our focus is site reliability engineering, cloud computing, and cybersecurity, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And Iya?
Hello, my name is Eyal. I'm a senior software development manager in Amazon in Vancouver. And I also lead the local LGBTQ2 AI plus chapter of Glamazon. So in my day job, senior software development manager, and in addition, trying to make sure that we have an up and running affinity group for people like us.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Stephen.
Hey, thank you, Lance. Thanks for taking on the challenge of moderating today. And I want to say a special thank you to CGLCC for this invitation to this global summit. And it's so great to see so many amazing Canadian sponsors supporting the work that's being done on this panel. So I'm Stephen Tapp. I'm the Territory Vice President and Head of Canada for WeWork. So very appropriate for us to be here today on the panel to discuss the future of work. WeWork is a global provider of flexible office space. We range from providing office space to single entrepreneurs to massive Fortune 500 companies. I run the business for Canada. We have 21 buildings, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary. But the company has over 700 locations globally, from Tokyo to Toronto, 153 cities, and 38 countries. So we have quite a global footprint, and looking forward to having a conversation today about the future of work, and particularly the future of flexibility.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in. A lot to talk about the future of work. We're all wondering what's going to be happening with the road ahead. So Margaret, let's start with you. Virtual Gurus has received significant recognition lately, with CEO and founder Bobby Reset being named a change maker by the Globe and Mail's report on business for revolutionizing the personal assistant industry. At its core, what societal changes in business does Virtual Gurus address, and how has the pandemic exacerbated that change?
Yeah, thanks for that, Lance. So Virtual Gurus is a two-sided marketplace. And so we have our virtual assistants on one side and our clients' businesses on the other. So we really look at societal change for both of those groups. So for our virtual assistants, as I mentioned in my brief intro, we focus on providing meaningful employment opportunities for underrepresented folks in Canada and the United States. And so that could be members of the LGBT community, it could be people from an Indigenous background, people who live in remote areas of Canada. So anybody for whom the traditional 9 to 5 might not work. Single and stay-at-home moms is another group. So, the pandemic has absolutely taken a toll on the admin professionals in Canada and the US globally. And that group of people is really who we focus on providing those opportunities to. So we have seen a massive flood of new applicants coming into our virtual assistant landscape over the last year, and really, really accelerating the talent that we have in that core group of people who are providing services for us. So that's the one side of things. On the business side of things, what we're seeing that's happened from the pandemic perspective is that barriers are being lowered. There was previously a fairly large reticence among corporate to allow remote work, right? And of course, the pandemic has forced us all into that situation. And companies are realizing, oh, this isn't actually that bad. I don't have to be hovering. I don't have to see my employees with their butts in seats on a day-to-day basis. So we're really helping those organizations now that the barrier's been lowered to relook at their workforce. What does it mean for them from a full-time equivalent perspective? How can they actually staff up their requirements on an ongoing basis and change things around as their needs change, right? So that's kind of how we're managing things on that side. And then the other thing that I would say are it doesn't happen often, but the small wins that we really see as a team is when we're actually able to provide education to clients about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, we've had a few instances of that where we've really been able to shine a light on how to interact with people who may come from different backgrounds than the client does. And so that's really meaningful to us as a team.
Great, that's super interesting. Now, virtual assistants, I mean, what would you say are some of the misconceptions around what a virtual assistant is, and some of the hesitations that maybe some companies would have had pre-pandemic embracing that kind of structure?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the one big thing is our virtual assistants are contractors. And so they're able to set their own work time. They're able to choose the clients that they wish to take on. They're able to actually leverage their best skills and put those forward to work specifically on those skills with their clients. And so that's really changed, I think, how businesses see what an assistant can do rather than kind of a jack of all trades. The VA teams can actually be put together to create very succinct, very specific groups of people who can tackle different tasks for clients. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Strangely, we still get requests for companies' virtual assistants to be in the same city so that they can come into the office. It's like, well, that's not really the point of virtual, but so that's one of the things that we still see every once in a while, which is kind of amusing.
Yeah. And would you consider Virtual Gurus to be a mission-led company? And if so, I guess, how has the pandemic really underscored the mission that drives everything from the big to the small decision-making?
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned Bobby in the lead up, and she is our fearless leader. She started this company because she is an LGBT Indigenous female who lost her employment in the oil and gas downturn 5 years ago. And she started out, she put ads out in Kijiji saying that she was looking for fractional work. And when it started to take off, she really thought, okay, I have an opportunity here to make an impact in the communities that I'm a part of. And so we recently, as in last week, rebranded all of our logo and our website. And we've always talked about our virtual assistants as being our North Star. They really are the reason that we do what we do. So everybody that is hired at Virtual Gurus has some connection to our mission. There's a personal story for every single one of us. And it's one of those things. I know a lot of companies say we hire for culture and not for skill. We really do. We look at how do you resonate with our mission and what it is that we're trying to accomplish with our North Star. So our logo now has a star at the top of it, and that is to reflect our North Star. So it's a reminder for all of us, and that's what we do every day.
Great. Now, Michaela, I know Ionica places a significant amount of importance on ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance efforts. This includes philanthropic activities to environmental, human rights, and poverty reduction groups. It sounds like a simple and obvious question, but why do you think operating ethically and responsibly need to be key considerations for business?
I like that question. We have to start with the most important reason, which is it's the right thing to do. And for all of us as human beings, that has to be enough. That it's the right thing to do. We do what we do because it's right. Because we're humans first. We might run businesses, we work for businesses, we're consumers, we're vendors and suppliers, but we're all human first. We live on this earth, we share this earth together, and that is the most important thing. That's why Ionica, why we do what we do. That said, there is a business benefit to running a business ethically, for taking care of the earth, our employees, our customers, the communities we work and live in. There's a business benefit to this, not just because our customers understand how important it is. The climate crisis, poverty, inequality, all these crises that we are experiencing, the pandemic, which has pointed out all of these other problems, these major issues in the world, such as inequality, such as racism, such as the climate crisis. It's accentuated our understanding of those things in a sense. It's accentuated exacerbated all the problems presented by those issues. And so consumers and buyers see that, they know that because we're all living this together. And so it does influence their decisions to a degree, but it also means it's also a great way to retain outstanding employees and to attract them as well. And and to show other people that this can be done. When we show other people that Ionica has been running for almost a decade now as a company that's made a profit from the very beginning, it continues to give back and operate ethically. We show people that there isn't a trade-off between doing the right thing and doing well. It's not a trade-off, and it's not a balance. It's not one or the other. These things are not opposed to each other. They are in alignment with one another. So I think those are some of the things to show people that, yes, financial and economic performance are actually move along forward with our principles. And this is a company that's founded on those principles. It's something that we've baked in from the very beginning. It's in our DNA, as a lot of other entrepreneurs like to say. It truly is. So I think that people, when we look at things from all of those points of view, from what our suppliers, our employees, and our customers, how they perceive us and how they think of what they need, what the world needs, we can show them that we take a comprehensive approach to this in the way that we do what we do, the reasons we do what we do, and in what we do in our work every day, in the work that we do, and who we choose to work with as well. So yeah, I think that absolutely these things are. I think absolutely there is I guess a short summary is, I think absolutely it matters, and it does, and the way forward is, I think, is fairly clear to the marketplace that this is happening, and we can see that in a lot of the rhetoric from larger corporate firms, that they are adopting pride messages, and they talk about the environment more. They talk about anti-racism, which is really fantastic to see. And so the next step, we as consumers, employees, as citizens, we have to hold all of these firms accountable to their actions and make sure that they actually live up to their claims. And I'm asking you, everyone else, to do the same for Ionica, so that you watch us, that you help us and guide us, so that we're always in tune with what people need and what's right.
Yeah, great answer. I think it is true that the two are not mutually exclusive. Doing good and being able to build a business can coexist, and can really help cultivate a business and an audience and ultimately success. And I think this holistic perspective, POV, is something that, at least from a media perspective, we're seeing a lot more companies embrace. But to your point, I mean, there is, we are seeing a lot of companies talking about pride, about, anti-racism. So how can we distinguish between performative allyship and action and the companies that are doing the work? How do you expect your customers and your audience to hold you accountable?
Well, it's in observing our behavior, If we talk about how we believe that we need to live in a low carbon future, and we decide to take on a huge tar sands company as a client, that doesn't align. We would have to be called out on that. If we say that we exist to treat our employees well and compensate them appropriately and hire the best, and we instead choose the cheapest possible labor, and we don't hire for quality, we don't provide them with benefits, we don't pay them well enough, we need to be held accountable for that. It's about our actions. And it's also evident in the work we do. When we do work for our clients every day, they can see the passion and purpose behind what we do for them. And the moment that isn't evident, we need to be called out on it.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at Ionica's website, and I saw that Ionica has donated over $130,000 to various charities and nonprofits since it was founded 8 years ago. what advice do you have for those watching on how companies can make the most impact with their philanthropic endeavors, or with their philanthropic endeavors, and how do you identify and measure impact?
Those are really, really good questions. I think the most important thing is that we've learned is to craft a plan. What is the purpose of your company? What is really important? What is not just important but urgent? So the climate crisis is, a good example. It's important and it's urgent. We have to do something about it now. Poverty reduction, similarly, right? Of course, you go on. The list is huge, right? Racism. We have to do something about it now. So figure out what's important. What's important to you? What's important to the firm, to the collective, and what's important to society. Try to balance your pet feelings with what's really needed in the world, and then come up with a plan, a budget. Put it in the budget from the start. What you're going to do each year. It doesn't have to be a precise number, but it's best that you have some kind of range of what you're going to do and roughly where this money is going to go. And so we have a general rule of thumb that anything we donate over $1,000 in a given year, it has to fall into one of those three broad categories of poverty reduction, human rights, or the environment. And so, that's a way that we also kind of, we sometimes, because I made some donations that didn't we didn't see the kind of, things didn't have the impact that we hoped it would. And this is, over time, we learn about that. The more you learn about the organizations you donate to as well, you'll see, you can kind of see how well the impact, is what kind of impact there is, and how well that benefit is used to help the people that it should be helping, or to help the cause that it's meant to serve.
Sure. And I love that you've identified the three kind of core pillars for your philanthropic activities, because it is true that there are a million things that we could focus our efforts on. But when you have a million priorities, then nothing becomes a priority. So outlining the three that are most important to you and where you want to make that impact is a great first step. So thank you for that. So you lead the Vancouver branch of Glamazon, Amazon's LGBTQ2 SIA+ Affinity Group. What has your experience been like leading an employee resource group?
Thank you. So I think that what's interesting about the affinity groups in Amazon is that while they are corporate sponsored, they are employee led. And it's kind of like that movie, if you build it, they will come. So it means that if you want to have an affinity group chapter in the city you're in, or in the fulfillment center you're in, you need to have passion for it. I don't have a budget from marketing. I don't have somebody high up the food chain telling us this is what's going to happen. It actually started in Vancouver. I moved here about 9 years ago, and my first summer here, I volunteered with Pride. I took photos. It was awesome. And a couple of years later, I was asking myself, how can I make sure that my office, the Vancouver office of Amazon, is a part of the Pride Parade? Because you see these companies there, and it's like, wait, we do that in Seattle. So I started reaching out, asking questions. And I think that the best partner ever for any affinity group related things are the HR business partners. And my experience was very interesting. I went to the HR business partner of Vancouver, and I asked him, hey, how can we make sure that the Vancouver office is a part of the parade? And my answer was, you tell me. And that's one of my favorite things about my employer, about Amazon, is that a lot of the times it's like, you tell me. So I had to figure out, I had to reach out to the Vancouver Pride Society. I had to reach out and figure out how much would it cost us to do what. And then HR helped me in getting those budgets. It's a little more organized these days. This is like 7 years ago. So it's a little more organized. We actually do have a plan, and very much like Michaela said, we need to plan ahead and put that in the budget. So Glamazon has a budget, and I put in the budget request for Glamazon Vancouver for 2022 just this week, where you have these broad categories of what you want to do. How much will Pride actually cost? Will we finally see the Vancouver Pride Parade back? Fingers crossed. I don't know, but I have that in rough sketches. To who will we donate? I don't know yet, but I have that as a line item in the budget. What other things can we do? It's a good question. It's a little far into the future, but we have to plan ahead. What is interesting is that it's not just my show, right? I do have Glamazon in every area will have a board of people that come up with ideas, and we don't really have tons of budget to spare, so we can't just say, oh, let's do something next week. We try to plan ahead as much as we can. But if people have a passion about something specific, I can try and say, look, I feel this thing is very, very important. For example, I think that for Transgender Awareness Day, we need to have a panel or we need to have a speaker. But I am hoping that somebody in my Glamazon board will say, yeah, I know who to talk to. I know how to organize this. And we do have a budget for it. So that's kind of my experience on how to navigate this. What's become really, really interesting in the past year, the silver lining of working from home is that the distance between Vancouver and Toronto has been reduced significantly because before everything I did was very Vancouver and let's say lower mainland focused because we have fulfillment centers and obviously the employees in the fulfillment center participate in Vancouver Pride, for example. But suddenly everything went virtual. And with the time difference not being that huge, we were able to put on virtual events that people enjoyed all across Canada. So now suddenly we have a Glamazon Canada board where we are able to collaborate with our Toronto counterparts. So we did, for example, for Black History Month, we had a Black drag queen, Tainomi Banks, put on a show and answer questions and in an interview where we were able to collaborate between two affinity groups, that's the Black Employee Network and Glamazon, and also make sure that this is cross Canada. So I think the challenge for me next year, again, fingers crossed we go back to more of a normal environment pretty soon. It will be interesting how will we be able to continue that collaboration of doing things that are relevant to people actually here, but also making sure that we have that connection, cross-Canada connection flow, because there is an advantage of doing some events that are across Canada.
Right. So a lot of resourcefulness, a lot of passion and vision. It's almost like building a startup within a company. That's very interesting. We have a question from the audience. So considering ESG initiatives do not directly benefit the corporation and decrease short-term profits, how do we justify that spending to shareholders that emphasize the fiduciary imperative to maximize quarterly and annual profits?
Take a crack at it, if you like.
Sure.
These part of my argument, and I think other firms can argue the same, that these things benefit profits over the long term, and firms have a responsibility to their shareholders to generate value over the long term, not just the short term. And we can guide incentives accordingly. So paying dividends based on long-term profits, not just quarterly performance. We can bake these initiatives into the founding principles of the firm. And so when you invest in a firm, you know that this firm is targeting long-term growth, long-term success, which, which requirement for that is to make sure investing in the community, doing things that your customers actually want. Amazon actually is a pretty good example of a firm that's followed a long-term, very long view with regard to profits and growth. And if you look at some of the stuff they've done in the last, say 5 years, 10 years, they've invested heavily in their infrastructure, whether it's to deliver physical infrastructure to deliver their products, like the warehouses that they have and the logistics supply chain that they have, but also their compute and network infrastructure that's cost, all of that stuff cost many billions of dollars to develop and to design and build. And they did that where there were several years where their profits were very low or sometimes not at all. And they did this as a huge global firm with lots of large shareholders, institutional and otherwise, that expected, generally commonly believed to have certain kinds of expectations, but they kept those expectations. They kept those expectations and those maybe potential criticisms at bay. And one can see now that the profits that they earn are fantastical, right? So arguably that's a very clear example, a big example of how short-term thinking is not good for the health of the firm over the long term. And any investor should want their investment to still exist, a year or 10 years from today.
Great, thank you for that insight. Stephen, WeWork Executive Chairman Marcelo Claure wrote an article in January 2021 talking about how flexible workspaces reinvent the office and the world of work. Do you think the office is dead?
Well, I think that the future is all about flexibility. And so, at WeWork, we have flexibility in our DNA. We started over 10 years ago with the concept of flexible terms, flexible lease terms, giving people the opportunity, whether they're a single entrepreneur or a startup or a mid-sized company or a full enterprise company, the opportunity to flex their space based on their needs. In some cases, they might have been looking to set up their own corporate headquarters, and we were a swing space for them. What the pandemic did for us at WeWork is actually brought us right to center ice. Since the NHL playoffs are happening right now, we can talk about hockey, center ice, in that it allowed the world to see just how work is changing and work is going to change post-pandemic. And there has been a lot of fabulous discussion around how companies want to ensure that they take their employees' best interests and the company's best interest and work together to figure out what that looks like. Whether that's the hub and spoke model, whether it's a hybrid model. I think that there's enough evidence and enough time has gone by throughout this pandemic to reveal that there's definitely a great room in the new workplace of the future for flexible solutions. We've all read lots of stats out there. One of the big commercial real estate companies said that recently they did a survey that 86% of the companies that they surveyed plan to use flex space as a key part of their real estate portfolio going forward. And that another company, JLL, another major provider in commercial real estate, predicts that 30% of all office space will be flexible by 2030. The reason why flexibility is really important, because companies have gone through lots of change. Employees have gotten used to working from home or gotten sick of working from home, have looked for kind of a more diverse offering of how they work. And so what this moment in time offers is a new way of looking at how people come together to collaborate. Can't be all remote, can't be all corporate head office. So what are the solutions out there that allow companies to go and rebuild or to satisfy their employees' need for some kind of a hybrid? So, that's a very, very interesting question. The reality is that the pandemic has brought the value proposition that WeWork brings every day right into focus, and flexibility is the real key. And the one thing that I've been listening to, the comments here about, the human part of everything that we do, collaboration, human contact, being together to create, to collaborate, to innovate. That's a really, really important human need and drive. It's important for individuals to have that opportunity to come and collaborate physically. And it's important for companies because it's going to bring the best results of the productivity of people working together. So we think that the flexible office space is the space of the future. And we're really excited to be able to offer companies of all sizes, all sorts of different solutions, whether it's a monthly membership, whether it's an on-demand membership, you can rent an office for an hour if you need to, or a day, or a conference room. We have a new on-demand product. We've got an all-access product that allows you to access any WeWork building in the world at $299 US a month. It allows you to move out and spread out, and allows companies also with employees who want to work in a location that's not a corporate head office, an opportunity to come and work in a flex place like WeWork. So we think that this is a transformative moment in the world of work, really positive. A lot of smart people have weighed in, and there's a lot of work to be done, but we're just happy to be able to provide those scalable solutions as the company gets back to work, as the world gets back to work.
Definitely. And building on that, from your POV, what are some good things from pandemic work culture that you think we'll be taking with us into the future?
Let's just talk about what we're doing right now. The video interface, right? The collaboration. Some people never maybe felt really comfortable presenting physically and in a room. And I think that actually the work from home and the video platforms that we've all enjoyed through Zoom and Google and the rest of them have given people the opportunity to perhaps on their own, in their own place, be able to contribute more, perform more, and develop those skills, those presenting skills. It also has given people the opportunity maybe to have some more quiet time in their homes as they schedule between their video meetings, an opportunity for them to really work on that, on their own presentation ideas. So I think that it's been great for us as a business, obviously, but I think it's great for work culture to have a hybrid model for once. That 9 to 5 hardcore, day in, day out, grinding to the office, all the commute, that was tough on a lot of people. And that's why, creating an environment where they have maybe some choice and flexibility are the two words that go hand in hand.
Definitely. Now, we're starting to run out of time, so I want to just ask everyone an open-ended question based off of what we discussed today. What excites you the most about the future of work? And I'll leave it open for whoever would like to answer.
Yeah, sure. I can tackle that one. In the short term, the immediate term, I'm excited to see my colleagues again. Honestly, my team has been together for a significant amount of time, and we miss each other. So last summer we met for a picnic in the park. Hopefully by the end of summer we get to work together again. There's something with seeing people face to face that this just can't replace. On the flip side, I think that anyone trying to say you can't be effective working from home hasn't really seen how companies evolved or individuals evolve, because we will probably see some flexibility. I don't expect us to do everyday office commute, but for me at least, it will probably be most of the days. But I still appreciate that flexibility.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any further thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think that human connection and also that the ability to have some flexibility in your work life in terms of where you go and when you go and for how long you go is a great positive psychological benefit, I think, for people as they pursue their careers.
Absolutely. Michaela, I don't know if you had
looking
something.
forward to meeting people again. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. I also want to just circle back quickly on, what we were talking about, Margaret, when we were talking about mission and values, and leave this also open to our panelists. I'm curious to understand if any of your mission and values at your respective companies, how they've evolved as a result of the pandemic or throughout the pandemic, or how you see that changing looking forward.
I can kick off with that. So I don't know that they've changed. What I think has happened is that we've shone a brighter light on our mission and what it is that we're trying to do. You know, we've seen so much over the last year and a half, and Michaela touched on a few things, right, around racism and just what's happening, all the negative things that are happening in the world, right? So if anything, for us, it's strengthened our resolve to continue with what we're doing and driving that mission home.
Great. Anyone else like to contribute to that?
One of our core values at WeWork just got strengthened, and that's better together. So whether we were better together physically or virtually, we came together over a number of different causes over this last year and a half, and we feel that we're stronger and we're better together.
Absolutely. I mean, if anything, the last year has really proven that, and hopefully it's a lesson that we won't forget moving forward, and it'll be something that we retain in our long-term memory. Yeah, I have another question for you, actually, that I wanted to touch on after our audience question. But when it comes to ERGs, if you don't have the support and leadership from the top, how can ERGs lead if that leadership doesn't exist?
Tough question. I will admit, I think that my leadership is doing the right thing. Again, echoing what Michaela said, because it is the right thing to do, at least for Affinity Groups and where my involvement has been. If you are in a corporation that tells you we don't support those causes, I probably wouldn't stay there, but that's my very personal opinion. I'm not sure I know how to answer your question. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think it can be as simple as that, is making sure that you're working within an organization that aligns with your values.
You know, one of the reasons we moved to Canada, and one of the reasons that I stay in this company, is that I can be who I am. I can be out. I don't need to think about that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us for this wonderfully insightful chat. Thank you to everyone that's watching for joining us. That concludes our session. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you all for joining us. Again, thanks to this session's sponsor, Magna. And a quick reminder that the next session is the Unstoppable Talk with international motivational speaker Spencer West, which you can access by clicking on the next session tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Thank you again, everyone, for joining, and we hope to see you again soon.